Big group today, so thank you very much. I'm always thrilled when a lot of folks show up. It means you're all interested in what's coming. So today's the big 4-0. We're here for Avocado 1.40, which I guess means it's middle-aged. We'll start with some user updates, and I actually have quite a few of those for you today. We'll talk really quickly about the timeline for Avocado 1.40 release. It will be just a hair slower this time because there are a lot of updates we have to do for you. Again, we'll go through the release notes, which is why you're all here, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming next. So first and foremost, we've made some changes to the way that we notify you surrounding deployments and upgrades, so the sort of thing we're talking about right now. We heard from you, and you let us know that you wanted better insight into when a deployment is requested for your organization, and a better ability to intervene in case you in fact didn't want an upgrade or didn't want a deployment to go through. So we've sent around a communication, and if you didn't get that, let us know. We'll send it around to you again. But it outlines the 3 separate stages at which your organization will get notifications that we're about to upgrade one of your environments. And these are separate for your sandbox and for your production environment, so we can notify different people in different cases. So if you're one of the folks who's involved in okaying or monitoring the deployment or upgrade, and you didn't receive this communication, get in touch and we'll make sure you do. So you'll be notified at 3 points. First, when we approve you for an upgrade, which is usually done in concert with you. Then again, when we actually schedule that, say, hey, it's going to happen Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And then finally, when it's complete. And at every one of those stages, we'll let you know exactly which version of Avocado you're getting, and we'll give you a link to the release notes. Second client update is for the finance teams in the room. Tried to get their attention with a big old pile of spreadsheets. So we've been hard at work for a couple months now with an individual named Saz. And Saz has come on to the TechShare team actually from a YMCA. Saz was an assistant controller at the YMCA of Calgary for some years. And Saz has been working closely with us to develop what we're calling a finance playbook. And so specifically, it's going to look at items like credit card transaction reconciliation, which we know is something a lot of you have had questions about. And more broadly, we're going to give you a sort of financial health checklist. So we're continuing to work hard through that, and we're going to be ready to present that to you or share it with you 2 weeks from today. So Monday, the 12th of April at 4 o'clock. So I know not all of the finance teams are on this call, so I will send this out again, but do them a favor and tip them off to this event so they can save that date in their calendar. We'll be sending around some resources and guiding you through how to use them. And the final, I think this is the final, user announcement before we get going is we're taking the first steps in launching a user group. A couple of you have asked about this, and we do think it's a good idea. And so to get an understanding of what you all want out of a user group and whether you'd be interested in a user group, I've sent around a quick survey. It's just a couple of questions intended to give us an understanding of if you would be interested, and if so, what you'd like to see in that user group. I sent it around earlier today. If you got that reminder email from me, the link is in there. And so thank you for those of you who already filled it out. Sean from Northeastern Ontario was the first one in. Thank you, Sean. Okay, the timeline for release, I think you all know by now. We move into your sandbox, and then with your approval, we move into your production environment. You may not be affected by this, but you should know that this is a little slower than normal on TechShare's end because we have a lot of updates that we're going to be making to your language files. So generally, we're able to process multiple upgrades a day. We're going to proceed a little bit slower this time. So please bear with us if you don't get the exact day you were hoping for. So let's jump into the new features. So first up, we've made a change to the way that we process payments for membership purchases on the portal. And this is optional. You can turn this on or off. Right now, if I buy a membership on the portal and there's a payment due today, it isn't run immediately. It's just scheduled and run with that day's batch. Right, so let's say I buy a 1-year membership and I'm going to pay in full for the whole thing. Previously, that payment, even if it's due today, would be scheduled for today, and you guys would run it with your next batch of scheduled payments on credit cards in this case. We're now allowing you to change that. So if you wish, you can enable this so that for membership purchases, that payment runs immediately. Now, that's always how it's worked for programs for you. We won't get into why there was a difference, but now if you want to run those payments in real time, you can. So that means more immediate declines or just response in general for you and your users. Feature number 2 is our first step towards proration. You're going to see a series of features surrounding prorated fees in Avocado, and this is the first one. So this first feature is about membership proration, and it determines, it prorates that initial period of a membership sale. So if this is something you guys are going to use, I'd encourage you to read the release notes in detail. It involves just a little bit of setup, and you'll be able to test it in your sandbox environment. The third one is something a couple of you have talked to us about. So for those of you who use continuous memberships, those are memberships that automatically renew, right? Sometimes every 2 weeks, sometimes every month, depending who you are. When that automatic renewal happens, there are a few things that can prevent a membership from rolling over or renewing. One of those things is if it's violated the allowances. And that happens when you age out of a membership. So it's a youth membership and I'm no longer a youth. Or it can happen if you have too many people assigned to a membership. So for some of you, you want to allow memberships to roll over even if they're violating allowances, and you now have that ability. So again, you can turn this on or off, but if you want to let those memberships still roll through, you can. Now, if you're involved in this, you probably know you get an email every night or every time this occurs with all of the memberships that don't renew. That will still include this list of memberships that would have failed for allocations, even though it allows them through. So that way you can allow the memberships to renew even though they have invalid allocations, but you'll still get a list of which memberships they are if you want to follow up and try to move those folks to the right membership. There's a series of changes that are going to involve sharing barcodes with users a little bit easier, and this is the first one. So to start, we've given you the ability to email the barcode directly to a new member. So this involves setting up an email template that will go upon new membership sale. And if configured, that email template can include the barcode at the bottom. There are a couple of different reasons you might want that. Some of you will use that for drop-in programs or short-term membership sales, and others will use it for virtual program offerings. So maybe you sell a virtual membership where you're never going to see that person in person to give them a card. Right? This gives you a way to email that barcode to them right away. There is a little bit of setup there, but we detail that all in the release notes. We're making a number of positive changes to Cantaloupe. If you work in the branch, you probably know that Cantaloupe is the system that lets users swipe in or out. For some of you, it actually controls doors or door kickers. For others, it's just controlling a membership screen that you're seeing. And so the first change we're making here is the linking of Cantaloupe to program registration. So up until now, Cantaloupe has all been about memberships. Cantaloupe checks whether Joe has the right membership when he goes to swipe in. Now, Cantaloupe will have the ability to check for a program registration. So this is someone who doesn't have a membership, but needs or doesn't have a membership that would let them in this moment, but does need access some period of time before or after that program has run. Now, we recognize that you needed this to be really configurable, so this changes on a program by program basis. So you can say, yes, for karate, let people go ahead and swipe themselves in if they have a program registration. And you can configure that for karate, it's 15 minutes early. Maybe for swim, it's an hour, etc. So again, a little bit of setup, not much there. That's all detailed in the release notes, and you can play around with that in your sandbox. You can play around with the setup in your sandbox. In order to really run that through, you'll need to do it in your live environment with a test program because your live environment is where Cantaloupe is hooked up. Change number 6 is a simple one, but we've now given you a place to record staff IDs. Some of you may have noticed on the account and contact page in Avocado menu, there's an area, for instance, for insurance ID and insurance company name. Similarly, we've now given you a field to store staff IDs. This doesn't do anything in the sense that those IDs aren't used for any function, but it gives you a place to store that information should you choose. This is another big piece in the attendance journey. So we've been giving you features for attendance for, I think, 3 releases now. And this time what we're doing is we've updated the calendars in the Avocado portal to support attendance. So if I'm a constituent and I'm in the Avocado portal, up until now I had a calendar that would show me my program registrations, so mostly HFA. But it didn't show you which days you were supposed to attend for childcare. And now we've updated that. What that means for families is they can now have a single calendar that shows them all of the registrations, both fitness, childcare, and camps, all in one view, potentially for all of their children or all of their family members. There are 2 spots where you see that on the portal. One, I think, is called My Calendar.
It's in their right to do that, just like it's in your right if you would like to talk to them.
Throw a little mute down. and then the other, I believe, is under the programs area. So same calendar. There are 2 ways you can get to it on the portal. So for those of you that are going to be using attendance, I think that's a really big change for your members. Not only can they tell you that they're attending childcare Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but they can see that confirmed in their calendar now. Also on attendance, you've asked for the ability to set the school as the pickup person or as the pickup option for childcare. So in childcare, if I drop my child off, I'm asked who is going to be picking this child up. And then when the child is checked out, I'm asked who is here picking the child up. And originally this was designed to just use other contacts. It's mom, it's dad. But you pointed out that in some cases you need to be able to discharge that child to a school itself or to another institution. And so now we've given you that option. Google Analytics. So at least some of you I know are tied in and very much interested in Google Analytics. And so we have made some changes. Oh, great. Yeah, clearly Jen is one of them. So we've made some changes to help with that. I won't go into any details here, but if you need to learn more, do get in touch. This does have to be enabled via a custom setting if you're going to use that. POS, so your point of sale. So we've made an update to the default payment method. Up until now, oh great, I'm seeing some claps, good. So up until now, you've all been set to cash. So if I buy something, whether that's a membership, a program, or an Avocado plush toy, when I go to pay for that, the payment method defaults to cash first. And a lot of you let us know that that was causing you some headaches because it makes it easy for staff to just go straight to cash right away, which maybe they don't want to. Now you can leave it cash if you like, but the point is we've given you the ability to change it. Now, and I should say, you get to change it on a POS by POS basis, right? So you have a separate point of sale for each of your locations. And so you can set a separate default payment method for each of those points of sale. If you don't set it, and you don't have to, instead of defaulting to cash, it's going to default to stored card. And that just gives you one more layer of sort of risk prevention. Because it's defaulted to stored card, the user can't just click through. They would have to actually select which card. So again, this isn't about processing the payments. This is about which option is pre-selected when the user gets to the screen to do that processing. So if you're going to take advantage of that, that will require a little bit of setup, not much, just setting that up on each of your POSs. Okay, so that does it for the features. I know that was a lot. We got through 10 features there. More details in the notes. Yeah, no problem. We're trying to help you guys make fewer mistakes. We only have 2 changes. One is to Cantaloupe. So this is the second Cantaloupe change, right? So first Cantaloupe change in the features was program access, right? Access for folks on programs. And remember, this is all working together with better distribution of barcodes. If you're wondering why you've seen a few updates now about sending out barcodes, that's why. It's all part of this development of getting users access easier or giving you more ways to give users access. So we've also updated the event log. So the event log is the name of the object or the type of record that gets created in Salesforce when someone swipes. So we've added 2 fields for you. One is just the hour of swipe. The second, which I expect you'll be excited about, is the name of the door. So you will have to configure that in Cantaloupe, and we can help you with that. But you can name this is the front door in the downtown location. And now Cantaloupe will know that and report on it. So it's a small change in a way, but it has big impacts. This really changes the way that you'll be able to report on your facility access. It gives you the option to report with much more fine grain where people are accessing and when. The second change is to the handling of inactive payment methods. So the change allows both users in the sense of your staff, and members or constituents. It allows both to change the active or inactive status of a payment method. So on the Avocado portal, users will now clearly see which payment methods are active and inactive, and they'll be able to make that change there. Similarly, in the Avocado menu, not a huge change here, but staff can see which are active and which are inactive, and they can make that switch. Inactivation still works the same way in that it doesn't delete the record from Salesforce permanently, but what it does do is append the word inactive to the name. And again, now it'll show up as inactive when you or your members are looking at it. Okay, and so those were the 2 changes. So lots of features this time, small number of changes. On to fixes. If you've been into the release notes so far, you've noticed that we've made an attempt to give you ticket numbers. And so this is the first time we're doing that, and I will point out that it's probably incomplete for that reason. But we're trying our best to give you an ability to connect the tickets that you submit to our support system to the release notes that you see at the end of the month. Now, most tickets don't have anything in the release. Most of the time we fix it with you in real time, but sometimes it requires development. It requires a code fix. And so we're endeavoring to do a better job of linking those ticket numbers that you see with the notes that you get here. And so to give you a sense of that scope, I did look up. We managed to close 352 Avocado tickets this month in March. I have about 20 or 21 of these that require development or are tagged as part of this development. So thank you very much to the support team, some of whom are on the line. That is a heck of a lot of tickets in 1 month. I will move through these quick. So first, we had an error with punch passes, where in specific circumstances, punch passes were being lengthened, not shortened. That has been updated. We had 2 small errors with the adjustment modal, so the little pop-up that lets you configure adjustments in Avocado menu. There was an error that was caused when an adjustment didn't have a rule, and there was a blank phone and email field. On the Avocado menu, under Programs, you had some duplicate filters. We added lots of filters for you recently under Programs and Camps. In fact, we added so many filters that we added a couple of them twice. There were 2 divisions, and I think there was 2 of something else, so we cleaned up those duplicates. We also fixed the loading speed there. That was loading slow for some of you after a recent update, and so that should be moving quicker now. Small error, but there were extra spaces in the address on the tax receipts. That's been taken care of. As some of you know, there was a bug allowing non-members to register for member-only programs on the portal. There were actually 2 of these. We got the first one, I believe, 3 releases ago in Avocado 1.36 or 1.37. We are now catching the second of the 2 cases where this can happen. Small error, if the minimum age was set to 0, it showed up as an asterisk in the portal. It will now show up as a 0 because nobody can have the age asterisk. Oh, these all came at once. But we had an error where the program or instance description wasn't showing up in the Avocado menu when you were looking at instances one by one. That's been updated. We had another display issue with the tax receipts. Oh no, that's me double claiming the same display issue in tax receipts clearly. We removed it twice. Maybe I claimed it once for each extra space. We did have this point in the Avocado menu where phone and email were failing to display. I know that was causing a lot of you a lot of grief, so sorry about that. But you should now see phone and email coming through perfectly in the Avocado menu. In Engage, I don't think many of you noticed this, but in Avocado Engage, if you got an error message, it was really difficult to see. It was hidden behind a pop-up, and that was going to cause us problems as more and more of you use Engage. So we fixed that. It's now easier to see error message. We don't want you to see error messages, but if they're there, I want you to know that they're there. And also on the portal, we have fixed a couple cases where the location filter wasn't functioning correctly when you were trying to search for programs. So it was displaying, but not actually filtering your responses appropriately. And so we've caught that. More detail on all of those fixes in the notes. And again, if one of you had a ticket open on this, you should now be able to circle back and see that's closed. Now, Avocado 1.40 was difficult. Again, the big 4.0 is always hard, right? We did endeavor to get a big piece of waitlist functionality in for you. And we are still getting it to you very, very soon, but it is not in this very first version of Avocado 1.40 that came to you. So coming very, very soon is phase 1 of our waitlist work. In the release notes, I've detailed what you can expect. And we expect that we can get this to you by the end of this week. Waitlists, again, are one of these things you're going to see develop over a series of releases. This first piece of functionality we're giving to you is the ability to email a registration link. You'll get your hands on it shortly, but the idea is we wanted to give you a way to let someone know, hey, there's a spot on the wait list and it's yours, and you have X amount of time to claim it. Turned out that was difficult to do, which is why this sprint ended up extending a little longer than planned, but we believe we've got some good options for you, and you'll see those in about a week's time. And that's a good chance for me to remind you that very often when we do these releases for you, there are small patches that come afterwards, either as little fixes or items that didn't quite make it in the first time. Whenever that happens, I update those public release notes that you see. So you can go back to that link for the release notes at any time. And if there's been a change, you'll see it listed at the top. I'll say there's an update, and you can see exactly what got updated and what got included. And I believe that's all I've got for today. So thank you very much, everybody. Please do look out for the survey about the user group. I really would like to hear everybody's feedback on that. And also look out for the invite for the finance meeting, which is 2 weeks from today, where we'll cover that finance playbook. So thank you all very, very much for coming. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you all soon.